at least that show you're on a lot, the Whatever podcast.
Yeah.
It's scintillating. I love watching it.
Yeah.
And it always has great clips. My only problem with it is sometimes I think these OnlyFans, they happily go there and get slaughtered because they just end up with more viewers.
Well, they do. But
so it's promoting OnlyFans in a weird way.
Well, not really. I actually had a debate on this recently. You could say basically anybody who's ever interviewed by anybody, whatever their motivation is, they're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In this case, I still think that it's far better to show people what's going on, even if, because any of the coomers who were watching that show who subscribed to this chick's OnlyFans, they were subscribed to some other chick's OnlyFans anyway.
Yeah, they're losers.
Yeah, none of them were just like, oh my God, after seeing her, I have to go to OnlyFans and I have to coom. They were already coomers, you know what I mean? And I think that the way that Whatever exposes the kind of wider ethos that's happening with these skanks is one of the most beneficial things to society I've ever seen, because people don't even know this is going on. A lot of people have no idea this is even happening.
I think a lot of these girls, it's never occurred to them that they're prostitutes. And they're like, I'm making tons of money. Yeah, prostitution pays well.
Yeah.
So does selling drugs. There's lots of sins that are profitable, but no one wants to marry you. There is that chick with the dyed red hair.
Nala.
Who is now Christian.
Yeah, I debated her on Whatever.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe you converted her.
Yeah, well, that's what Brian says. He gives me credit for it. He says, that was you. So I'll tell you a little bit about her, my impressions.
Okay.
Okay, so at a lot of the women I've talked to there, she came off as being very genuine. And what I mean by that is I honestly believed that she believed the things she was saying. A lot of people I debate, a lot of women I debate, you know how you can get a feeling from someone that they don't actually believe that they're saying?
Right.
Her, I got the distinct feeling she actually believed the stuff that she was telling me.
Really?
Right? As stupid as it is, as the stuff she was telling me was, I got the impression she at least believed it was true. And so I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt when she came out with this. And a lot of people were hammering her.
Came out with what?
Even from
OnlyFans or Christianity?
No, with the Christianity, with the conversion. You know, I was on Pearl Davis's show right after that. I was talking with Pearl, and she's like, "Come on, Andrew, like this is bullshit. You know, it's just bringing in a bunch of simps." And I'm like, "Look, back off, because everybody needs to have at least an opportunity to move that direction." You know what I mean?
Well, if she quits her OnlyFans, then it's proof.
But she hadn't. She hadn't really quit it, and then there was a bunch of pressure, right? And then she did.
Yeah,
she
obviously.
did. She did basically quit. She did basically quit after that. She pulled it all down. But it's like, that shows you the power of social shame, right? And social shame works. And so I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. And it looks like she's really trying to back off of that and move towards Christianity. And it's like, great.
It just, I see OnlyFans as a real sign of the apocalypse, because it's men giving up, and I don't blame them for giving up. Like I said to my sons, when you go to college, we have to outfit your dorm with hidden cameras and illegally film you because you could ruin your life.
Yeah.
And you're gonna remember that chick, mattress girl?
Yeah. Strapped the mattress to her back.
Yeah.
Claimed that she was and none of that happened.
Destroyed him.
Hi, this is Anthony Cumia.
Hello, I'm Gavin McInnes.
And together we're Compound Censored.
And we would like you to subscribe with this deal using this promo code right below me right now.
Do it, because it's very entertaining.
And yeah, she destroyed him for that. So I think a lot of these young men, they go, I'd rather just off.
That chick, mattress girl, right, was making pornos.
After the incident, she did an art piece that was a reenactment of the... I'm doing a lot of finger quotes here.
Yeah.
And then she aired that.
Yeah.
It was her whole identity. She's a mental patient. Oh yeah. And then we discovered later that she was texting him saying, I want you to f me in my ass.
Yeah.
And then when she got caught with that, she goes, there are no perfect victims.
Yeah. We all cope in a different way.
Yeah. I cope with my by asking for more.
Yeah, by asking for another Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What a
but this is actually a big part of why that show, whatever, is so successful. It's so successful because it also shows that in modernity, women have trouble taking accountability for their actions.
Well, they've never been criticized.
Never.
And this is true of the left in many ways. Like, I'm at a point now where I just say, how many illegals are there in America? And if they don't say between 15 and 30, I just walk away. Like, we're arguing with people and debating and talking to people who have no clue what they're talking about. And that's okay. I don't know anything about cars or guns, but I don't have a car-gun show.
Do you believe that they believe that, though?
Which?
That there's only, if they were to come on and say, oh, you know, there's a couple million illegals, that's it. Do you actually believe that they believe that?
I don't think they've ever thought about it. I think it's proof that they've just talking out of their ass. And if you try to pinpoint and you say, like, how many is too many illegals? And you say, like, 200 million? Is that too many? And they'll be like, nope. And you're like, you're not a serious person.
No.
So those girls, those OnlyFans chicks, they've never questioned anything. They've never had any kind of rigor to their
They've never had any criticism. They have a magic power. Imagine if you had, and you've never had this, because you're an ugly Scotsman, but imagine that you were to have this superpower where doors magically opened for you, money magically came into your pocket without you doing anything.
I can't imagine that.
You can't, but they have that.
I've actually talked to like super hot chicks and I go, what's it like to walk into a room and every single person there wants to f you? Like 15-year-old boys, 70-year-old men, married guys, single, everyone would love to see your tits. And she goes, it's exhausting, but you just shut it off. It's like being a burn victim. Like you know people are going to stare at you and you just accept it.
Well, the thing is that
I would just them all.
They utilize it. Some of these chicks do,
yeah,
right? But they utilize it to gain huge amounts of resources. The problem is that then they hit 30, 32, 34.
Poof.
Suddenly it's really hard to keep your body in shape and you're not nearly as beautiful as you once were.
It really is a switch, isn't it?
And then when that power's gone, they do everything to create the illusion that it's still there. So that's why you see all these chicks with the filters and the makeup and all this shit all over their Instagram. They're 40. Wow, that chick is smoking hot. You're getting catfished. For one thing, these chicks, they don't look like that in studio.
Really?
No, not even in the same universe. I remember the first time I went home and I was talking with my wife and I'm like, I don't know how they do it, but they can prep their makeup in such a way where they just look perfect on that camera. They do not look like that. Okay, they are 2 degrees downgraded from that, and it's amazing. But they can, the way that they wear their outfits and the way they do their makeup and you know what I mean. They can really present themselves on camera as looking way different than they actually look in person.
You know, we had such a great system before they said, no, we're going to reboot it all. We had a system where you're a pretty lady, you attract a man, you have 3 to 5 kids, and then when you get older and you lose your looks, it's cool, I got your back, I'm going to be here, still loving you, still f***ing you, and your children will adore you, and you lost your cachet, in a sense, but no one cares, because we love you unconditionally. They changed that and said, no, I'm just going to take the sex part and then monetize that over here. And you go, okay, you're really thinking outside the box here. And then, as you say, they hit that, like Drew Barrymore. I was looking at her the other day and I'm like, wow, it's gone. Like, you're not remotely attractive anymore.
Really gone.
Toast. You're a dude. I'd rather f*** a dude.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far. But it is gone. And this is, like, you hit on a key end point here, right? Is women's lib women in the worst way.
The worst way.
The worst way possible, because and the most interesting part is they did it from the best of intention. You know, the road to hell is paved in good intentions?
Yeah.
You need to be happy, girl. You need to be happy.
Well, it started as...
Your happiness is what matters. And then what they do is they go, oh, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. And I'm like, but you have kids. You have kids and you have a husband. What about them? Yeah, but I'm not happy.
Yeah,
break up the whole family.
Eat, pray, love. I want to go to India.
Yeah, first of all, marriage is work, right? It's work. And you can have whole years where you're not happy.
Oh, dude,
You can have whole years where you're
Write
like...
that in on a giant mountain. Put that next to Mount Rushmore. No one understands that.
Yeah.
Yes, be unhappy. Guys go away in the military. They're gone for a year. People have to move to Beijing for their job for 3 years. People have circumstances. You can have bad time, but they'll have a bad month, and it'll be over.
I was working doubles at night trying to get ahead of my house payments, okay? I saw my wife maybe an hour a day for 2 years, right? And she told me...
I've heard of that destroy marriages.
Yeah,
Night
well,
shifts.
she told me, she sat me down one day and she said, I know that we're getting ahead, but we've got to make some changes because it's miserable. It's miserable for you. It's miserable for me. We're fighting over nothing. We had a fight the night before, right? I was mad that she didn't put enough taco sauce on the tacos she made, and I made a big deal out of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she was like, that's ridiculous. And I was like, yeah, it is ridiculous, you know what I mean?
Well, you're probably fucking exhausted.
Oh,
too.
constantly. I was always exhausted, and she was always great about it. She knew it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But no, it wasn't ultimately productive. It was time to do something else. But the point is like, that was a couple of really fucking miserable years for both of us.
Right.
But that was okay. We were working towards a goal, working towards an aim, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to suffer.
You got to suffer, yeah. And she wasn't about to be like, well, you. You know, even though it would destroy our entire family and ruin the kids and ruin you, I got to go be happy. So I'm going to go blow the neighbor and hope that he has more money, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember in 1980, I was 10, and there was always a dad on our couch. Because it seemed like it started in 1980. The boomers had been married for like 10 years. They were getting itchy, 7-year itch, I guess it is. And
having key parties.
Yeah. And the trope is that he marries his secretary, wants something, you know, they love you till you show your age. But that's not what I saw. I saw them marry a woman, they would get married pretty soon after too, and they'd marry a woman that was just like the one they divorced.
Yeah.
Same age and everything. And I was like, well, you should have just stuck it out with that first one, dummy. But it's, you know, the common denominator here is you're playing God when you want to reinvent the wheel. And you know, you see this with communism, where Stalin decides he's going to be in charge of who eats, and then you have Holodomor. I always pronounce it wrong.
Yeah.
Where
the Holodomor.
Yeah, that was what 7 million people starved to death.
Yep.
Because you're better than God. You're better than nature. I'm going to decide who eats. And it's the same with OnlyFans.
I mean,
it's the same with
Mao did the same
polyamory.
thing, Pol Pot too, right? We need the educated people. If you're just wearing glasses, you need to get in the trenches.
Yeah.
You got to get down with the rest of the plebs.
Yeah.
Destroy everything. What the need a doctor digging a trench? What are you, out of your mind? We need him to
I'm
be
better
treating
than
the
God.
people whose hands are hurt by digging the trench.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's what we're. What are you doing? But you make a good point. But remember, like women's liberation and feminism, and there's a great book, my wife's book. I brought you a copy actually. It's called Occult Feminism. She traces the roots of feminism, and I mean, communism was riddled with women's liberation, women's ideology. I mean, Russia, right? Abortion was so prevalent there that they finally had to stop it because they realized they were going to run out of fucking people.
Yeah.
All right, that was all women's lib.
They use it as birth control.
Yeah, well, that was all part of women's liberation theology.
Right.
Right, and women's liberation Protestant theology here inside the United States, the women's devotional Bible, all this kind of stuff. Get rid of the patriarchy, hierarchy's bad. All of that, in its feminist core roots, come out of these crazy lunatic Protestant sects in the 1800s, pushing this madness.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
I've always thought women, this was chosen for them. Like when you see the suffragettes, you're just like, your heart's not in that. So there's a dude behind you saying you should fight for the right to vote. I'll never forget, I was watching some 50s like Western cowboy movie, and this woman gets out and she's in the courtroom, and she gets up from the back chairs there, whatever seats, and she starts this whole diatribe, and the judge is like, hey, order in my court. And then the lawyers are like, you can't do that. And she's like, let me tell you something, Buster. We're not gonna sit here and be told what to do. And she's this brassy broad. And I'm like, a dude wrote this script. A dude is directing this movie. A dude hired her to say his lines. And that's what feminism and a lot of women's rights are. I can just see some.
Well, I have all the old newspaper clippings from the Antisuffragettes. People don't realize the Antisuffragettes.
I just learned about these.
That
very
was
recently.
a much larger movement than the suffragettes were, and they had way better arguments. Then they would argue with each other.
Don't let us vote.
Yeah, but they had great arguments for why, right? It seems absurd on its face because feminism's the air you breathe, it's the water you swim in. We've all been indoctrinated with it, whether you want to believe it or not. But the anti-suffragettes would use newspapers to argue with the suffragettes. And so they'd make arguments, actual philosophical arguments back and forth. The anti-suffragettes were like, listen, politics is a man's domain. We don't want to get drafted and have to go in the military, which they still don't, by the way, even though it's supposed to be equality, right? We don't want to get drafted. No way. We don't want to ever pay property taxes. We can own property right now if we get married and have it in our name, and our husband can't take it. But if he dies, we get half. We can't incur any debt. They weren't allowed to incur any debt. That would all go on the husband, period. So they could go shopping, the whole 9 yards, pick up whatever they want. They were never responsible for any of the debt. So, I mean, they had fantastic arguments for why it was that being in the political domain was really bad for women. And also they said it's going to expand the voting pool, and we're going to become political cogs at that point. And so
Which
then
they are.
Which they are.
Yeah.
Which they are. And the anti-suffragettes were so smart, a lot of them, they said, listen, women are really easy to influence. We're really easy to influence.
They're genetically agreeable.
Yeah, and so what happens is, and now we see this, right? Propaganda, always towards women, which is why, they're the biggest debt holders when it comes to credit cards, things like this. They're so easy to influence with propaganda.
Look at Justin Trudeau. They elected him, I don't know what term he's on, his third, his fourth, because he's a hunk. He's actually, he's probably as dumb, or if not dumber than Joe Biden. And he just keeps getting reelected because he's handsome.
Yeah.
And you see this with politics
And
in general.
he's a literal traitor. He's a Canadian traitor. Like, if there was justice in the world, they'd put that guy right up against the wall, Trudeau, for what he did to Canada.
I mean, with the COVID, with the truckers,
with the
confiscating
lockdowns,
bank accounts.
What he did was, from my perspective, was high crimes. I mean, he did high crimes against his own nation, political crimes.
He's
you honked your horn, go to jail. You honked your horn. Unreal, this guy.
And the money he gives to the media, Ezra Levant did the math, and it ends up being like $40,000 per person in media. Because he had like that, I don't remember how much it was like $70 million. He said it was to save newsprint, but it was really just a gift to the media to talk nice about me. Mm-hmm. But there's not that, Canada's a tenth of the population. Yeah. So there's not that many people in media. So you throw millions at them, and every single person is getting tens of thousands of dollars. That's Cuba. That's Fidel.
Yeah,
he is Fidel's son.
Yeah, that's buying the electorate, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And women are also I like that women are agreeable as moms because we see a drawing and we go, what the is that? That's not a horse. A horse has 5 legs now.
That's what's wrong with you?
Yeah, go back to the drawing board, literally. And but then women go, I love it. It's cool.
Yeah.
And that's a good balance for a kid.
Yeah.
You get flattered and you get insulted. And
they need
find
the feminine and they need the masculine. God knew what he was doing.
Right. Yeah. But then when you bring them into the political sphere, you go, families are being separated. And they go, that's bad. But if you're with your kid and you're dealing cocaine and you get arrested, your families get separated. Or I have no proof that you are the dad. I'm not putting you in a cell together, you illegal aliens. You could the kid. So we have to separate them. So us men can go, that drawing's that family has to be separated.
Well, it's funny, one of the better arguments I heard of this, and I have back and forth because I don't agree with everything this guy says, obviously.
Destiny?
No, this would be Fuentes, Nick Fuentes. So I don't agree with everything that this guy says by a long shot, but I saw an argument that he made a couple of years ago about this. And it was a good argument. He says, actually, we want them out of politics because how much we love women, because how much we respect women. He says, because politics is brutal and it's nasty.
Yes.
And it's awful and it's horrible. And there's men out there who get involved in it and it hurts them so bad they go home and they put a 45 in their mouth and they blow their brains out.
Yeah.
That's how dirty and nasty and evil and life ruining it is, right? They're going to go through your Instagram, lady, and they're going to find a tit pit, and they're going to put it out for the whole world. They're going to make sure your kids see it. They're going to do horrible things to you. And it's because we love you so much, we want you the fuck out of it. And I'm like, how do you argue with that?
That's what a lot of women don't get, is that we're trying to protect them. Like my grandfather was a bookie. His name was Johnny McGuinness. And no one would trust an Irishman, so he changed it to McInnes. And he didn't
resemble that remark.
he didn't do that great as a bookie towards the end because he refused to take women's money. But back then, if a woman has money to gamble, she's spending grocery money.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have that money.
Yeah.
So there's different ways you could phrase that. And as an outsider, you might hear that story and go, what a sexist. He wouldn't let women gamble like men. Women are equal to men. No, in those circumstances, she clearly had a problem and she was gambling. And you know what? If you want to gamble, honey, tell your husband what horse you want and he can decide.
Yeah.
And it goes back to voting too. I was going to mention that when you were talking about the suffragettes, my wife voted for Hillary. And it was like,
You got a divorce, right?
It was close. It was a 2-week
Wait,
fight.
no. You're still married?
Yes, we're still married. But we fought about it for weeks.
Ooh, you're a better man than me.
Yeah, and she canceled my vote out. So now our household didn't have any influence on the election because I voted for Trump and she voted for Hillary. And that was... So a household should vote together.
Well, it should just be one vote per household.
Yes. And I was saying to her, I was like, this is like us deciding to move to Colorado. Like, I'm not going alone. We obviously would make a decision as a family, and then we would all pack our stuff, and then we would all move in the moving van. You're going to a different city than me.
Yeah.
So you're taking our family to a different place. So my general point is that all of these kinks had been worked out.
Your wife voted for Hillary, though?
She's a vegan, she's a liberal, and then our whole family got pilloried by the Hillarys, and she's got red pilled just from the sheer abuse.
From the Clintons?
Our liberal neighbors terrorized us. They put flyers all over my town, my kid's school, on the highway. They vandalized the car, the house. They would Zeke Heil outside my door and throw garbage on our lawn and have their dogs on our lawn and attack me at restaurants and stare everywhere we went. One woman hissed.
She hissed?
Yeah, she went. She was like 70 years old.
Did you laugh at her?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I laughed at her.
They do this staring thing too, where they look at you and you're like, lady, if you're not an MS-13, the staring thing means 0. Yeah. You're not intimidating. What are you doing? You have to have facial tattoos if you think staring is a thing.
Yeah. Well, where's the intimidation factor? You just look like a weirdo, right?
Hi.
It's like what? But yeah, so yeah, that would have been rough, man. If I would have sat down with my wife, I think I would have told my wife, "You're staying home. Then you're staying. Maybe you disagree with me, but I don't. You're staying home. There's no way you're going to go out and vote. A Wilson will not vote for a Clinton ever.
Yes,
ever.
Well, also, like, ask her what the policies are. She was just voting liberal because that's how she grew up. There's no thought behind it whatsoever. And that's true of pretty much all liberal voters.
So if you enjoyed that clip,
then subscribe to Compound Censored using this promo code.